Welcome back to the Sun Belt 7 on the Transfer Portal CFB YouTube channel, presented by NoContextCFB. My name is Dan Keegan. You can follow me on Twitter at Keegs.com. Go ahead and make sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow if you like our stuff, Transfer Portal CFB. This was a massive week in college football. It was no different in the Sun Belt. You had shootouts, you had defensive battles. Let's go ahead. We're going to wrap up all the action in 7 quick hitting minutes. Let's go ahead and put 7 minutes on the clock. And we're going to get started in 3, 2, 1, go. We had on Wednesday night on the ESPN game, you had Marshall and Louisiana Lafayette. I'm going to go through this quick. You've had a couple of days now to digest it, but Marshall has really not acquitted themselves well after that mammoth win over Notre Dame. They're now falling to 3-3 on the year. Starting quarterback Henry Colombi, he took a tough shot in this one. It's 2 weeks in a row that he hasn't been able to finish out the game. Redshirt freshman Cam Fancher came in, finished it off, but it really didn't matter for the Marshall offense, who was under center. They have really been struggling. So, but this was a big win for Michael Desormeaux in Louisiana. Things were starting to go backwards there in Lafayette. So, nice win for them. So let's get on to the massive Saturday slate. A ton of big games. And we're going to start with the stunner in Conway, South Carolina. Coastal Old Dominion. Old Dominion just incinerated Coastal's defense. A 49-21 win. They scored 5 touchdowns in the second half. Running back Blake Watson was a star in this game. He rushed on 18 carries, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns. So incredible day for him. Coastal's defense. It's not been great there in Conway. They've been winning shootouts, one possession games, thanks to that offense, thanks to Grayson McCall, who's a stud. But it all caught up with them today. The Monarchs, Coastal's offensive line has only allowed 7 sacks on the season. The Monarchs had 7 sacks yesterday, so they matched it. It was an incredible job by them. Coastal still has all those wins in the bank, though. They are 3-1 in the league. If they can get any kind of competency on defense, they'll still contend for the league title. But if they're playing like this, they're going to take a couple more losses. So that was just a brutal job down there. But a huge win for Old Dominion, right? Ricky Ronnie. To get a win like this in that fashion, they've already shown they can win that 2019, that meat grinder game there on week 1 against Virginia Tech. And then to get a win this way in a shootout. So great job by them. All right, another huge game in the East Division. James Madison, Georgia Southern, ranked top 25, James Madison. Georgia Southern, maybe they had a little bit extra oomph at home taking on James Madison. People were talking about the best ever FBS transition year when, Georgia Southern, they might think that they have that title, So maybe they wanted to play a little harder and take them down a peg, take that make sure they claim that title. So, but this game was wild. James Madison, for many stretches, were the better team. There's about 10 minutes left in the third quarter, and James Madison was doubling up the yardage in the game. But the Dukes, they were sloppy, though, and they didn't finish their opportunities, and they let a punt block get returned for a score. And Clay Helton's outfit, they played great, and they took advantage. So Kyle Van Treese was unbelievable for the Eagles, especially in the second half. He threw for 5 touchdowns in the game, 4 in the second half. His wide receivers were the difference. Caleb Hood was great. Amari Jones could not be stopped. He had 161 too. Overall, the wideouts for Georgia Southern were the difference in the game. They were fast, they were shifty, they were escaping tackles, and they kept that Georgia Southern offense on the field and kept them explosive in the game and really won the game for them. So Kyle Van Treese is now the single-season leader in passing yards at Georgia Southern, and it's in only 7 games. So, an option school transition to the air raid, a little bit of a cheat, but, Also, I do want to shout out Georgia Southern cornerback Derek Canteen. He was dominant and just stood out on the game, just making plays all over the field. He's an NFL draft prospect, so shout out Canteen. 45-38 was your final there. Best game of the week in the Sun Belt. So, all right, let's go over to the West Division. We had Troy and Texas State. Texas State coming off their huge win over App State. They could not make it 2 upsets in a row. They fell 17-10 in a defense-first contest. So a little bit of a difference there, a little whiplash from the JMU Georgia game. But great story here from the Troy quarterback room. Gunnar Watson, starting most of the year. He's been dinged up. He missed last week. He came back this week. He wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't great either. He took a tough shot, and Jared Deggy came in and led the touchdown drive in a game they won by 1 score. And Watson talked to John Summerall, the head coach, and he said, "Hey, he's hot right now. Go ahead and leave him in. We got to win this." So that's a cool story. It shows great leadership, great humility, and healthy competition there between Watson and Deggy, and great chemistry. Maybe that chemistry is part of the reason that they're 5-2, having a great season, 3-1 in the league. if it is not for that intangibles, they do have the tangibles of an outstanding defense there in Troy, led by linebacker Carlton Marshall. He had 11 more tackles on the day. He's only 15 away to become the all-time FBS record for tackles in a career. Another game in the West, I actually did not get to watch this one. It was the NFL Network game. I was focusing on, other games. So I don't want to speak too much of a game I didn't watch. But that was Louisiana Monroe falling to South Alabama. 41-34 is their final. I probably should have watched that. A lot more points there. But, a lot of points, a lot of yards, a lot of passing yards there. Carter Bradley had 420 passing yards for the Jags. But maybe that's not how they want to win that game. Maybe they want to win that a little more comfortably against ULM. But although ULM has been a little functional this year. So we'll see. Huge one coming up there in the West this week. Troy and South Alabama on Thursday. And then the last game, we're going to wrap it up. Arkansas State and Southern Miss. This was another tough one to watch. 2019 was their final score. Southern Miss with the victory at home. They trailed most of this game. The offense was just hideous. Quarterback Zach Wilkie, he was struggling all game. He's a freshman. He's been, up and down. He's made some mistakes for sure. So Jake Lang came in, and he was a name that Southern Miss fans, you might remember him from last year with all those quarterback musical chairs, all that chaos there. Southern Miss had no first downs the entire third quarter. They just could not get anything going all game. But then in the fourth quarter, they played a lot better. They had 2 long touchdown drives. They got a couple stops and escaped with the win, 20-19. A really big emotional win there at home. For the Red Wolves, that's tough. James Blackman, the 6-year quarterback transfer from Florida State, he was good. He was solid. He was managed in the game. Really efficient, really accurate passing day for Blackman. And, the Red Wolves had the lead, but they just couldn't hang on to it. That's now the 3rd loss of the season for Arkansas State, where they've been leading in the fourth quarter and let it slip away. 3 of those already. So that's tough for Butch Jones there in year 2. But huge win for Southern Miss in this defense. They're like the opposite of Coastal, right? If they can get any kind of competency going on offense, they might be able to make some noise. But we'll see. It's been a tough year and a half for Will Hall's offense in Hattiesburg. All right, so let's get to some honorifics. We got our game of the week. Not even close. Georgia Southern, James Madison. This was an incredible game. If it weren't for Alabama, Tennessee at the same time, this would have been the game of the year. It was amazing. So dominant offenses. That's our 7 minutes. We're going to wrap it up real quick. The quarterbacks were on fire. You had skill guys making great plays. That was a fantastic game of football. Player of the week, Blake Watson, Old Dominion. Incredible line, 256-3. Team of the week, Georgia Southern, upsetting the top 25 ranked Dukes, showing the old guard isn't going to roll over just that easy. All right, that was an incredible week for the Sun Belt. We're going to be back next week. We got 2 midweek games on ESPN. We have a Wednesday game, Georgia State and App. That's pretty good there in the East. And then Troy, South Alabama, already mentioned it, Thursday night on ESPNU, I believe. That might determine the West Championship. Please don't miss that game. We're going to see you next week for the next edition of the Sun Belt 7. Thank you.